Today on Chainlink, Samy Karim from Binance Smart Chain joins me to discuss growth in the BSC ecosystem. Plus, we get into what it's like working in a global industry that never sleeps. We talk about structure and motivation, burnout and focus, and how playing soccer helps drive his personal productivity. Chainlink is a pocket-sized podcast series talking to the builders in the Chainlink ecosystem. We get to know the human side of the people bringing the many applications of Chainlink blockchain oracles to life across global enterprise, the blockchain industry, and more. My name's Dr. Andy Boyan. You can call me Andy, and I'll be your host. Samy Karim is the Binance Smart Chain, or BSC, ecosystem coordinator. BSC gained enormous traction as a high-speed, complementary blockchain bridge to Ethereum with billions in DeFi value on chain, in no small part due to projects building with Chainlink oracles. I brought Samy on so we could get to know the BSC ecosystem a little bit and get his point of view on how the space is evolving. Samy, hi, how's it going, man?
Doing great. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. I love getting to know people in the space. So why don't you start us off? What's new in BSC?
A lot. So at the moment, we're seeing a lot of growth happening in the gamefi space and the gaming domain generally. So we have a ton of projects building on BSC at various stages of deployment. There's a couple of games already live that their growth has been pretty incredible over the last few weeks and months. It's also the inbound demand that we're seeing from really high quality teams in the gaming domain that want to build on BSC as well. I believe is going to become a really key enabler for bringing a lot of new users into crypto, and it's also going to be a really important part of how gaming is going to evolve.
When I talk to, play to earn or gamify teams like Crypto Blades, they're a Chainlink user, they're on BSC, one of those teams that's experienced amazing growth. It seems like the user base isn't just crypto people. It really has already expanded past those sort of traditional lines of people looking just at tokens or something like that. And it really is a new audience.
I think there's a lot of users that are quite familiar with DeFi. Obviously, over the last year, there's been a lot of new users coming into DeFi. I think BSC also contributed a little bit towards that because it was kind of an easy environment for new users to come in and play around and experiment and get to learn about DeFi protocols. So there's a lot of users like that, net new users in crypto that have a little bit of experience in DeFi that are also really engaging a lot in the GameFi space, but it's also net new users. And there's users, and a lot of the games are being developed in a way that users don't even really need to know about managing private keys or any of those kind of things. So it's a lot of new users, and they kind of progressively get exposed to different parts of crypto and eventually DeFi as well. So I think it's going to be a massive driver for new users coming into crypto and the ecosystem.
I wonder if GameFi or play to earn, what do you call it? Do you call it gamify or play to earn?
I call it gaming. GameFi, I'm not really sure. I really like the term, although it's being used a lot right now. But
I'm seeing more play to earn, but they're not all play to earn, I guess. So maybe that's limiting. We'll just call it gaming. I'm cool with that. I wonder if gaming on chain in some of these environments, it's like, with tokens, there's only so much you can do with them. You can hold them and look at them or, buy them and sell them. With DeFi, you can deposit, you can earn yield, you can do that sort of thing. But with gaming, seems like there's a lot more mechanics where you log in every day, you do something, you can go do, a variety of activities with different characters or different skins and all sorts of different things. Do you think that options, like game companies are really embracing those options and trying to bring those to users?
Definitely, yes. But I think it's also driven a lot by user demand because a lot of those mechanics exist in games today, like non-crypto games, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to log in every day, you get like loot boxes, you get different types of rewards that you can use inside the game. The big difference with the crypto games and GameFi is that those economies are much more open now. So, and the economic incentives are also a lot more different. So users are getting real money. So they're able to earn through playing, and also not only the play to earn, but it's also through the type of engagement they're doing in the game. So like the amount of time they're investing, even the amount of assets and money, and then earn rewards. But they're able to take that and do a lot more than just inside the game. So they're able to trade those assets and then go on dexes and do all that other great stuff. So I think the economics have changed a lot. And that's also driving new behaviors for gamers and also driving a lot of the growth there.
Well, and with economics comes this requirement for security and transparency, which is why, where Chainlink comes in, especially for Chainlink VRF and gaming, we see so many use cases where people who need RNG, they need randomness in a game experience, they want it secure, they want it transparent. BSC, an early adopter of Chainlink oracles, other than Ethereum native Chainlink oracles, in your experience, how does Chainlink oracles being available change the dynamic of how teams are building on BSC? Or how are users, looking at projects that have integrated Chainlink?
It's really critical infrastructure. From the ecosystem development perspective, our role was really about trying to understand the needs of the developer community and also how they want to build out the user experiences for the users of their dapps. Chainlink was one of the very early, I think it was the first Oracle feeds on BSC, but it was very critical. Even VRF, for example, was a key enabler. Even though we did a lot of efforts on increasing the diversity of infrastructure solutions for the developer community, Chainlink adoption within the developer community is like orders of magnitude greater than the peers. So it's absolutely critical infrastructure, not only for gaming, but even for the growth of the DeFi ecosystem in BSC was extremely critical.
Samy, I don't know what you did before crypto, but is this job anything like what you've done in the past?
Honestly, the experience at Binance is very unique. I was working at Consensus for a couple of years before coming to Binance, and that was an incredible experience as well, incredible organization. The whole crypto ecosystem has a lot to thank Joe Lubin and Consensus for building out the initial infrastructure, tooling, building out experimenting with so many different applications and all the great things that they were doing. But Binance is really unique in a number of ways. I think it's the execution speed is unique. I've worked with a lot of big tech firms before, like SAP, Microsoft, and all of these types of firms in my previous life. But Binance is quite different in terms of speed compared to anyone else I've really come across.
This job is like nothing I've ever done in the past. It feels like every day, even just doing research was something like, okay, you've got a plan for how to do research, how to do due diligence, and then you come across a project that it has invented something new, and you're like, I'd have no way to evaluate this. I don't know. It's this constant, really interesting field to work in. At least that's what I find. Sounds like maybe similar for you as well. What are you an expert in besides crypto?
I don't have a lot of spare time, but I do a couple of things. So I play football a lot, and I have been doing soccer, so that type of football for many years, like competitively. I think I've learned a lot through that experience that I apply to work as well, or that helps improve my productivity as well as endurance.
What position do you play usually?
Midfield.
Midfield, you're commanding the field. That's why you need the endurance. And that's why you're an ecosystem manager, right? It's perfect because you're playing both sides of the field, offense, defense. I see it. It tracks, man.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Do you have a personal philosophy that relates to building decentralized systems? Like, why are you in this?
I have a strong conviction that crypto is going to change for the better a lot of different parts of society as well as economies and industries in a number of ways. So if we look at a lot of the negative impacts of centralization of different types of powers and hierarchies, whether it's from technology firms or in other aspects. I think that decentralized systems can improve a lot of that to improve society as well as economies and industries in a number of ways. So that's really like my key driver, and I think I'm sure a lot of people in the space as well have very similar types of convictions.
How do you stay focused and tune in to, your job and make sure the systems that you're part of building work at a level that secures billions in value?
That's a good question. I think it's still something that I'm continuously learning on how to improve in doing that. But I think prioritization is really important because it's impossible to keep up to date with everything that's happening, especially across so many different domains. Like the DeFi space alone, the amount of innovation and change that's happening there, that's like a full-time job just keeping up with that. And then the same thing in the gaming space, same thing in other domains as well. So I think it's like important to have a kind of a level of depth that's enough to kind of keep up to date with everything and then also deliver on so many different competing priorities. So I think the quality of our prioritization as a team and myself individually has a direct impact on the outcomes that we're able to achieve.
As you try to stay focused and productive, do you have any productivity hacks? secret formula that you use to stay on task or anything like that?
Maybe not a productivity hack, but I think what really works for me is having discipline with my daily and weekly routines. As you guys know, it'll be super easy to work like 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and then neglect taking care of yourself in a number of ways, like your physical health, obviously very closely linked with your mental health and your like family relationships, and all of those things are really important. So I try and frame it like from the perspective of an athlete, right? So like the routines are really important there. So eating well, making time in your day and your weekly schedule to do things that you want to do. So like for example, if you have time that you've blocked in your schedule to go to the gym, and meeting comes up, for example, or a meeting request, it's like also having the discipline to push back there and say no, because you just like, if you don't go to one and then you're like messing up with the schedule a little bit, for me anyways, like has a negative impact on my productivity and mindset and those kind of things. So I think it's like discipline in my daily and weekly routines are quite critical for me to have a high level of productivity and endurance with my productivity as well.
Creating those clear lines is really important. I know, like on Friday nights, I'm trying to tune out, and whoever I'm with, whether it's my family or friends, I always tell them, like, I'm sorry, but I might talk about crypto for a little while because I need to defrag, and before I really get it out of my system and can, have a nice peaceful night of sleep, maybe two if we're lucky.
Yeah, I think the red pilling the friends and family is like a must. This kind of therapeutic for me as well, So that I do. Like I don't really count that as work. That's kind of like my social duty, I think, to do that.
I try to, because conversations with friends and family, they're two ways. And crypto, it's so easy to make that a one way. Like, here's everything that happened. It's just like this fire hose of information. So I try to take the care listening to other people's lives about whatever it is they're talking about, as much as I would want them to care about crypto. And, especially on Friday after a long week of that, it's not always easy, but I find that really actually does help me, put myself in other people's shoes, at least to recognize the vocabulary that I have. They would have no idea what I'm talking about. Just kind of have that empathy there.
The other thing about that also, I think for a lot of people in crypto is you kind of get disconnected from the outside world. Like you just caught up with trying to keep up with what's happening in crypto, like kind of lose track or don't really have a pulse about what's happening in other industries or like what's happening in the wider world. So I think that part's also kind of important. Speak to people, like get out of the crypto circle from time to time and kind of find out what's interesting things happening in other domains and industries.
Yeah, especially, if you're getting all your crypto news in one place, if it's podcasts and all you have is crypto podcasts, slip in a football podcast. Find, whatever your favorite kind of music, slip one of those in, and at least it'll break up, your thinking so you have that perspective, because it is important to keep that perspective. For gaming is a great example. We need to reach outside of crypto to bring industries and people and builders into crypto for this to continue growing.
100% is quite important. Probably I should be doing that a bit more than I currently do. Thanks for the reminder.
I'll give you some records and stuff. And I do it on Twitter too. Find other Twitter communities. That's important. Hey, Sam, we got going and talking about some cool stuff. Before you go, what are some Bsc Roadmap items, some things that we should really keep an eye out for in the coming weeks?
So we've got a lot of exciting things coming up. Ones that I think would be really exciting to share is stuff around what's going to happen with how we see BSC evolving. So we launched BSC, we just had the first year anniversary very recently. It's pretty crazy, but we're reaching the kind of capacity of the chain at the moment, which is far beyond our initial expectations. But based on the demand that we're seeing coming, we know that the current architecture, etc., is not really sustainable. So we will be launching other chains. And for the Binance chain team, we're really chain agnostic, we're client agnostic, language agnostic. So short term, we're probably more than likely going to launch more EVM chains that will be faster block speed and significantly cheaper transaction fees than the current BSC chain. That we expect will be well received and adopted by especially the gaming community. But we may in the future launch chains with different architectures, different clients, maybe Rust, for example. All of these things are options where we want to provide infrastructure to meet the demand of what developers want. And that's going to evolve over time. So that's some kind of insights in what's coming up from the BSC ecosystem, kind of short to medium term.
Man, I should have asked that at the top. There's a lot of juice in there.
A little bit of a leak, but that's the kind of exciting things to look forward to.
Samy, hey man, it's been really nice to get to know you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. What a great chat. If you're a regular listener, you may notice that we started this show being pretty focused on products and solutions, but I'm shifting a bit to try to get to know the people behind the products as well. It's great to learn about both sides of this industry, the beautiful systems being built and the beautiful spirit of the people building them. I hope you're enjoying this slight shift, and if you are, let me know. Reach out to me on Twitter @Andy Boyan and help me grow the podcast by sharing it with your friends who need to get a deeper insight into Web3. The best things you can do: subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. Also, follow Chainlink Today on Twitter. Chainlink Today covers the deeper side of projects and grants in the Chainlink ecosystem. Follow them on Twitter @Chainlink Today and read more about the stories behind some of the industry's top projects. Also, join the Chainlink communities. I'm in the Telegram and Discord chats, along with tons of other Chainlink enthusiasts, builders, and educators. Coming up, I've got even more guests from major projects for you to learn even more about the Chainlink ecosystem. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you next time.